Hey Gizmo. Hey buddy. This is Gizmo, this is Lola, and this is the roadmap to success. Now, this is the first time I'm really interacting with Gizmo like this. She is really the dominant dog in the house, and he is really the more subordinate one. When I first came in, I gave them bully sticks. She likes to take his stuff, and the guardians have kind of let that happen. So she finishes hers fast first, and so she went over, she wanted to try to take his, so I protected his. That really was unnerving for her for the first about half an hour of the session until I did a little dog psychology to help her get over that. And but him throughout the session, once she no longer was the top dog, he started asserting himself. He was barking and protesting me. Yes, you were. And I see that your pupils are dilated, so I'm going to let you down here in a second, but we like to start the video with both dogs in my lap, or all the dogs in my lap. But basically, it's interesting when I work with dogs like this. I have a lot of people that are like, well, this dog is the problem, this dog's not, and then I see that both dogs are issues. And so now one of the things the guardian was doing is she was going so out of her way to be fair that she was really kind of handicapping the dogs unintentionally, and also setting some precedents we don't really like. So because she eats stuff first, faster, if I gave both of them a bully stick and Lola finished her first, the guardian would give Lola a second bully stick to try to compensate for Gizmo not finishing his first. But then she's getting 2 and he's getting 1. Even though he chews slower, doesn't mean that she needs to get extra. A lot of us go so out of our way to be fair with the dogs that we actually take away motivation to be respectful or obedient. So I practice what I call coffee for closers, which is basically sometimes I pull out a treat and I ask the dogs to do one behavior that they know, and whoever does it first gets the treat, whoever does it second doesn't get anything. Now if both dogs give me the same performance level, then I would give them both the same reward. But if I ask Gizmo to come, or I ask him to come, and Lola comes right away and Gizmo comes a minute later and they both get the same reward, Gizmo has no motivation to actually come faster. But if only the first dog gets the reward, now Gizmo has motivation to beat Lola to the punch to get that treat. And again, once they start giving me the same effect, same impact, or same results, then I would, or initiative, whatever, I can't speak. It's Saturday, it's been a long week. But as soon as the dog gives me the performance I'm looking for, the same performance, then they would both get paid. Okay, now in these dogs' case, I think the reason they were so barking and reactive to other dogs is because they had no rules. They got good exercise, more exercise than most of my clients, but also they were able to tell the guardians when they wanted to pet them. And I consider petting a dog our way of paying the dog. So I went over my petting with a purpose philosophy with the dogs, which is to stop petting them when they demand attention, and instead to give them a counter order to tell them to sit. If they're already sitting, ask them to lie down or come and sit on the other side of you, and then pet them and try to pet under the chin whenever possible. Yes, we like this grooming. And Lola can tell that Gizzy is a little bit stressed, and she's trying to calm her down a little bit. Gizmo? Yes. Oh, we love seeing that. That's awfully cute and endearing. And she's trying to help him relax a little bit. And I can feel his heart rate is coming down because my hand's on his heart. So basically, petting with a purpose, after a while, the dogs will start coming and sitting in front of the humans to ask for attention by sitting as opposed to jumping up or nudging them. Now, the dogs also compete for attention. So if I'm petting Gizmo, you want to get down? Well, we can let you get down. We just don't let him run away. So I'm just going to kind of gradually let the pressure off. I just don't want him to squirt away. That's kind of a panic mode, and then last memory engram he has is fleeing from this person. And he's kind of hanging out right here. Gizmo. There you go, buddy. All right. Lola, let's see if you just want to hang out yourself, or if you want to get down. And you're free to get down and do what you want. So basically, for petting with a purpose, say paycheck if you suspect somebody's forgot to pet with a purpose. But even if you want to pet your dog, still ask your dog to sit first, and then pet it under his chin, and say just the command word, not good sit, or not the dog's name, or not sit, just sit. Yes, talking about you. Now, that leads me to what I call passive training, which is just waiting for the dog to offer a behavior that we want and rewarding them. So right now, Gizmo just came. I can say, come. I didn't ask him to come. I waited for him to do it on his own, and when he did, he got a reward. And so the more that happens, the more he's going to be inclined to do that. There we go, buddy. Yes. All right, well, he's demonstrating, so we'll go ahead and do one there. Oh, I went it off the reservation. So whenever one of the rules I went over was, one of the ways I flip the leader-follower dynamic is by enforcing rules, introducing rules that have a meaning for the dogs, and then having the guardians enforce them consistently. So for dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or social status they have. So right now, this is breaking a rule, but we're doing it for the video. But what I usually recommend is for 30 days, or as long as the problem's going on, no furniture. One of the first rules. Never up here, because the dog's up here, it sees us as having more status as the human, but this is the same status as the human. So after 30 days or 60, whatever the period of time is, if the dogs are behaving and we're not having these problems, then I can invite a dog up. It's a one-time invitation. It's a one-time pass, and it's only for good behavior. Lola. She's like, oh, you're crazy. I barely like you. So basically, it's a one-time pass and only for good behavior. So if the dog's up here and starts growling or barking, it has to get down. And then, or if I invite it up to get a drink of water and it gets down to get a drink of water, when it comes back, it would need another invitation. So in order to get a dog to leave, what I usually do is touch their nose with a treat. I throw it on the ground. When the dog jumps down, I say the word off when it licks it up in its mouth. And then at that point, I would block and not let the dog get back on there. But don't stand here like this the whole time. Just wait. If the dog tries, flash your hand. And don't give them an elevator ride down. What you want to do is block them before they get a chance to get up here. If you can catch them midair, that's best. We don't want to hurt our dog, but if they hit our hand and fall down the floor, it's not super high, it's carpeted, so they're going to be fine, but that will help the dogs learn. I think one of the guardians has been too soft, and I want to say the other guardian is too hard, but sometimes a little bit more assertive than might be needed. We probably see that pendulum fall more in the middle. Now remember, when we're enforcing rules, it's not being mean, it's helping the dog. And sometimes we think of being mean in the short term, and we're trading off long-term success. You have to remember, oh, that was awesome. Go ahead and pan at that, pan over to it. So this is the dog bed that we introduced. I showed the guardians how to do this, and already the dogs are starting to hang out there. And this is the first time the dog is in that dog bed's in that position. They do like to hang out on the hearth a little bit because it's nice and cool on the marble, but it's just a good example of how quickly dogs can transition. All right, let's transition, speaking of which, back to me. So the more that we enforce rules, the more the dogs start to see themselves, the humans acting like leaders. Then their job of protecting the leaders is no longer needed. So it's going to take about a month or longer of enforcing those rules. So one of the rules, not being allowed in the furniture. Another rule that I have, I make a dog sit before I let it in or out of the door. Didn't go through this with the guardians. What I usually do during the session, so I'll go through it now. What I usually do is I go to the door and say sit, and I count to 3. If the dog doesn't do it by 3, I walk away. And I wait for 1 minute, then come back and give the dog another opportunity. Sit. They don't sit in 3 seconds, I walk away. The more you say it, the less you mean it. So only say it once. In this case, the dog wants to go outside. So we wait for the dog. As soon as the dog sits, and I keep on doubling the length of time. 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 8 minutes. And eventually when I say sit, the dog sits, then the door opens, and we got to go outside. Eventually the dogs will go sit at the door as their way of telling you they want to go outside. Now Gizmo has some accidents in the house, and I don't think that he was properly potty trained by his previous guardians. So I went over potty training tips with the guardians. If you have questions about how to do that, message me. But the synopsis is you want to make sure you give him a command word, and every time he starts to pure poop on a walk, say the command word in a normal tone of voice, and then as soon as he gets done, pop a treat in his mouth and say the command word a second time. After a while, he won't want to do it in the house, he'll want to do it outside. Now, he's been doing it downstairs, and so we want to block the dogs an opportunity to do it downstairs. So we might need to get a baby gate or something we can put up temporarily until the dog is going to be trustworthy and it gets in the habit of only going outside. All right, so what else do we go over? We also went over passive training. Look at that, both of you coming over to me. Passive training is just waiting for the dog to do the desired behavior. So I would do that with every toy that they have. If they go to the dog bed and we don't have a treat, just say whatever the command word is there. And if there's a dog bed upstairs, I would give that a different designation as well. Eating, we want to start feeding the dogs in a structured order where the human eats first, because dogs eating is a very important activity. So the human eats first, then I would probably feed Lola next because she's been here, she's a little bit older, she's been here longer. And then when she's eating, Gizmo's not allowed to be in the room. And then when she's done, she has to leave the room. And if she leaves food in her bowl, we pick up the bowl and we dump the food out of it and put the empty bowl back down. It's important to put the empty bowl back down. And then she isn't eating again until the next meal. And when she leaves the kitchen, then Gizmo gets invited in. And when he's eating, she's not allowed to be in, and vice versa. And again, have no sympathy. Don't invite them. Invite them, tap the bowl once or twice, and they know it's permission time to eat. If they don't want to eat, that's up to them. Eventually, hunger becomes your ally. Now, if it goes longer than 4 days without eating, let me know. But usually within 1 or 2 days, the dog's, okay, you're going to provide food? I'll eat it. The guardians here are fed, buddy, come. The dogs here are fed twice a day. And so if we put the food in the bowl and they don't want to eat, that's fine. They don't eat again until the next meal. Eventually, hunger becomes your ally, and now the dogs see you controlling the resource, and providing them with something they need, and that makes us more powerful, more authoritative. And it's also, like I said, another opportunity for the dog to see us acting like leaders, which means they don't need to protect us so much outside. Now, we also went over the 4 escalating consequences I use to disagree with unwanted actions and behaviors. If you forget how to do those, message me. I can go over them with you. But we would use the 3rd escalating consequence. This is really good because he's not been coming up towards me. But again, spend a couple minutes on my lap. I let him go down without a panic, and he feels comfortable coming back. So one of the rules would be dogs are allowed to be on the carpet that's around the couches when the humans are eating. Not allowed to be in the dining room when the humans are eating. Not allowed to be in the kitchen when the humans are preparing food. Now, one of the things I like to do, is to practice. So if we're going to actually eat a meal here, when we're eating, we're thinking about eating, and then we have to shove the dog away and doing other things. That movement is what he disagreed with. So what I would do is I would maybe get a piece of roast beef. Let's see if we can use a little jealousy. We get a piece of roast beef, microwave the piece of roast beef. Notice what happened? Somebody's not barking. He sat down. Sit. Microwave the piece of roast beef and come and put it down here on the table and pretend like you're eating it. You're not actually interested in eating it, but it helps you give the dog a practice round of not being on the carpet. And once the dogs stay outside the carpet, go there, wherever it is, then at that point we can put the roast beef away and do our actual meal. We help the dog practice the behavior. And again, this is a little demand barking. Now remember, if the dog's barking, you say no, or you yell at it, they think, cool, now we're both barking. Or if we even just look at the dog or chastise, sit, passive training, that rewards the dog for doing that, and the dog's going to continue doing that. So for about a week, there probably is going to be a little bit of demand barking. We just need to completely ignore it. Don't even look in his direction. After a while, when we're doing more passive training and petting with a purpose, come. He'll be more inclined to do those things, come, as opposed to doing these other things. Yes, I know. I put your bully stick up there. You're going to be able to get the rest of it out. Now, the guardians probably need to get some high-value training items like that. These dogs have separation anxiety, but I think a lot of it is because they're just getting so much. All right, now you can get down. So they, again, privilege, good behavior. And I'm not going to, it'd be a little annoying for you watching this, but you just have to filter it out. So we want to get the dog some good things to chew on. I would like to, I don't know if, I'm sure they have a bunch of toys, but I like to have a basket that I pick up all the toys and put the toys in the basket at the end of every day. So having the fun of the day is going to the basket and figuring out which toys I want to play with. Now they should have a variety of toys. Pull toys, plushy toys, hard toys like Nylobones, antlers, real bones, things along those lines. You're just engrossed with me. I love it. Also, we can get some edibles, not California 420 edibles, but like kneecaps, cow's ears, tracheas, bully sticks, chicken feet, duck feet, turkey feet, turkey heads, turkey necks. Higher end stores are going to have some of those things. We do not want to use rawhides. Rawhides are bleached in ammonia and a lot of other chemicals, and because the dogs ingest them, they're not very good for the dogs. Yes, I'm not going to let you be up there. I thought he's going to go up here, a little blocking if he does. Always follow through right away. The more that we are inconsistent, the more we confuse the dogs into thinking they need to be defiant. And so if we're consistent, and if we have to, like in the morning, one of the guardians has a job where she has to start work pretty early, start working with the dogs, or with her job. Well, the dogs need a little bit of time, so for the next month, we might wake up a half an hour early, so we have that extra time and we're not rushed. But if we're rushed, the dogs can sense that we're rushed, they know we're out of balance, and sometimes they'll use that to their advantage and push the boundaries to get what they want as opposed to doing what we want. Let me see, what else? One thing I forgot to mention during the session, but if the dogs are in our way when we're walking, don't walk around them. Leaders don't defer to followers. So I'd like you just to walk normally. Now, if the dog's sitting or lying down, that's different. You step over them. If they're standing in your way, walk through them as if they're not there. We want to create a choreography so that if a human's coming, my job as a dog is to get out of the human's way. The more we do that, after a while, the dog starts to adopt more of a follower's mindset. Now, exercise is also something that can be really beneficial. One of the things I did was I pulled out a laser, and the dogs are interested in chasing the laser. We have a couple flights of stairs in the apartment. When dogs get really barky, really become a nuisance, sorry, I have a little bit of a frog in my throat, but when they become a nuisance, instead of interpreting that as the dogs are being a pill, we should interpret that as, oh, the dogs are telling me they need a little exercise. And what I would do is I would use the laser, run them up and down the stairs, or throw a ball, whatever, or throw a treat, whatever it is, and then each time up and down the stairs, I count that as 1. You might find that, when they get boisterous, if I give them 8 up and downs, then they're fine. They go sit down. Now, the guardian works from home. Sometimes she's on phone calls and these guys get boisterous. Well, we can set that up ahead of time. If we know we're going to do a conference call, then we should do some exercise ahead of time. So maybe instead of 8, do as many up and downs one time, just so you can find out what their threshold is. So let's say 10 is the maximum. Well, I have a conference call. It's going to go long. Maybe I'll up and down 9 times. And then I'm going to give them a bully stick after that when they go in the room. So now we depleted the energy and we gave them something to redirect, and they're going to be very calm and comfortable. But the guardian right now, I think they bark and then they get attention. And so that's trained them to do that. Remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog for them to make the association, but anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're amplifying, including unbalanced states of mind like fear, stress, anxiety, excitement. Most of us, when we come home, our dogs are all jumping up and excited, and we pet them. We're training the dogs, pet it. When you get excited, I pet you. So that's going to make them get more excited, and just like us, when we're more excited, we're not in the best frame of mind. So calm and balanced is how I want dogs to behave, their energy to be. Basically, the focus exercise, follow the instructions in the focus exercise above. Now, if, like I said, if it goes longer than 4 days with the dogs eating, make sure you message me. But I'm guessing that they'll be fine with that. They'll probably hold out a meal or 2, but then they'll get into it. And that is just a really important activity, so it'll help the guardians, the dogs respect the guardians a little bit more. Whoever's in front is perceived to be the leader, so we want to keep a short leash and keep the dogs right next to us. If we let them in front of us, that will actually make them more reactive to other people that when we're out on walks. Now, because walking is one of the problems for the dogs. Remember, if we're on a walk and we see a dog at the end of the block, I'm going to immediately turn my attention and watch my dog. When my dog starts giving me a signal that it's uncomfortable with that dog, that's when I want to start doing the focus exercise. Don't point it out first, but as soon as the first one's usually, like I said in the other video, lowering their head and staring at the dog. So when you see any of those warning signs, start doing the focus exercise. At first, move off the path, off the sidewalk, and if once they're reactive, you want to just increase the distance and move them around something so they can't see it. Wait for them to settle down, then try to do a focus exercise or something like that to redirect their attention. But I'm guessing as we enforce these rules consistently and we practice the focus to the levels we talked about there, eventually we're walking down the street, we see a dog turn the corner, starts walking towards us, we'll be able to just say focus, the dog's walking, paying attention to us as the other dog passes, and eventually a treat goes in their mouth, and they're like, I'm a Barky, oh, you already passed him, missed him. Now, something else that I like to do is I call it the long walk. What I would have the guardians do is take the dogs out one at a time, each dog should have a side, a right side or a left side. And so what I do is, when we go for a walk, we have a tendency to think of the duration of the walk or the destination. And we get frustrated when dogs pull and are all over the place. So what I do instead is when I'm walking for the long walk, I go out and say, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. I'm just walking around the block. I have no destination. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop every 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 steps. Every time I stop, I'm going to stop and tell the dog to sit. As soon as it sits, I pop the treat in its mouth, and I take maybe 2 steps. Then I stop again, sit, treat. Now 5 steps, sit, treat, 1 step, sit. The dog never knows when, but it's going to be pretty quickly. After a while, what happens is the dog, instead of paying attention to everything else, it's looking up at the human. He's about to stop. Oh, he stopped, and I'm going to sit down automatically. And that's called an auto sit, is what I call an auto sit. As soon as the dog does that the first time, you should give it like 5 treats. Sit, 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 sit. Remember, always give the treat first and say the command word after, and be careful how you say it, and avoid saying good, sit, and all the rest of that stuff. So after a while, when you stop, the dog automatically stops. It's paying attention to you as opposed to its surroundings. So that really helps. Pulling on a leash, dogs are programmed to pull. They have an opposition reflex. So if we pull them in position, they're going to guaranteed pull against us. And all we're going to have is a tug of war. It's going to be frustrating for us and the dog. I have, by the time this is on my website, if you go to dog training tips on doggoneproblems.com, go down a couple. You're going to find a dog. I'm trying to think what the name of the dog was. So many dogs. It's basically a dog it's going to say some loose leash walking tips or something along those lines. So there's a little dog, I can't remember what it was, but it was not too far away from her actually. And it's actually a little terrier mix if I remember. And but basically I show you how to stop the dog from pulling ahead of you by stopping as soon as the dog passes you. And as soon as the dog gets to the end of the leash, you make a kissing sound, duck down, and the dog turns around, comes back to you, give it a treat. If you do this properly, after a while the dog will get to the end of the leash and just automatically turn and come back to you instead of you pulling them back. So look, and you can find other dog training tips on doggoneproblems.com. I've got thousands of videos there, and people get a problem solved by watching those videos without ever having to hire me. Now, if you have any questions or problems after this, make sure you call or text me. If I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great. And it's pretty common for me to need to answer little questions or make little adjustments for the week or two after the session. Now, I'm hoping that these dogs, as we flip the leader-follower dynamic, no longer feel it's their job to protect dogs, and the guardians can easily redirect them, and eventually they just don't even do that, and they can learn to have buddies. If that's not the case in a month, give us a shout. We can set up a 1-hour follow-up session and do some behavior adjustment training where we bring another dog in and we practice at a park and we teach them how to properly approach other dogs and that they can move away when they feel uncomfortable and eventually get them closer and closer until they're comfortable approaching dogs without doing it in a spastic way. All right, well, this is Lola and Gizmo, and if you want to pan to them real quick, this is the sign of a good, successful session with doggone problems is the dogs are wiped out because we made them use a muscle they don't use very often, their brain. All right, so this is Lola and Gizmo's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.